mean, it was appropriated, but there are some grants that are being offered too, that if I know this isn't in the works in the next few years, I may look into some grant opportunities.
For sure.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
How's it going?
Okay.
We're live.
Son of a gun. Yellow?
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Budget and Finance Committee meeting is previously scheduled for 10/29/20, 5:30. I see both committee members are present. With that, I will open it up to public comment. Hearing no public comment, we'll be moving on to the first item on the agenda, which is the budget presentation from the library. So Ben or
And
Andy?
just remind them it's not out of the general.
Correct, we're talking about the library fund, which is a separate fund, totally, aside from the general fund. And of course, we've had, discussions, well, probably over the last 30 days as far as the libraries, what they foresee as far as the revenues and expenditures. And I believe that, Director Hammy and Nona have gone to the board and discussed this further, and are here to go over the numbers. One thing I wanted to interject is the property taxes. The top line, obviously the biggest contributor of the revenues in the library fund. For now, we are having a 0% growth. I believe at least over the last 4 years, there has been zero growth as far as property taxes go for the library fund. With that being said, I'll hand it over to Tammy and Nona if you can talk further about the revenue line items in the library line, the remaining.
Okay, the fines from books was never a huge source of revenue for us. Our numbers are down this year, obviously, because of the pandemic and the lack of fines that are being charged right now for overdue books. We do still anticipate some revenue coming into that line because we still have people who pay for lost books or damaged books or missing items, things like that. But the fines overall were really not a big source of revenue for us. Our grant revenue, for this year, we got a $25,000 state grant, and we just received a $10,000 age options grant. So that's where our grant revenue is coming from. Our per capita revenue, also, that is standard. We've already gotten the award letter for 2021, so we will be getting the $70,821 again from the per capita. And the copier revenue right now, again, is hit or miss because of the pandemic. Nobody's been in the library. Since we've reopened, though, we have installed some credit card machines on our copiers, and we have already seen an increase in usage. So we're actually hoping that that revenue line goes up a little bit. And that's mostly where we get our revenue from. Our building revenue are donations that we solicit, usually for our events, our reading program, and our fairy tale ball, from Berwyn businesses, and then the money that we get from that offset the programming costs for our big events for every year. And we don't have much in interest income. And the miscellaneous income, what was that number, Mona?
The miscellaneous income is the, well, this year I put in we received back some, funds from,
That's right, HR source.
HR source, and
the
we
snow
also,
contract.
and, yeah, the snow contract.
Right, they were expenditures that we had paid out. The one was a canceled conference that we were sending all of our managers to, so we got refunded for that. And the other was balance that our snow removal company had gave us for an overpayment.
Yeah.
So, and then Ben, if you wanna go on salaries and wages?
Yes, salaries and wages, with salaries, the contracts are still under negotiation. So for now, we'll build a 2% increase, but that's subject to change pending contract negotiations. The remaining benefits that we see, as mentioned previously, health insurance, we're building a 5% increase for now, but that's subject to change as we get our final medical insurance quotes in the early part of next year. And we built, for dental and life, we built in 10% increase conservatively. After that, we do have tuition reimbursement. We foresee that continuing. Is it just for more certification?
It's for, library employees who are going to receive their master's degrees. And right now, we have 3 on staff.
Okay. So that's on the salaries and benefits and payroll related. Going to the services and programs, you can talk further about that section.
Okay. We are going to earmark some of our per capita for our community programs. That is again, that's, the money from the state that we divide up as we determine the needs of the budget. We did cut down this year on our community programmings, given the projections that nothing is going to open up anytime, at least for the first half of next year. We can't be doing programming like we used to. So we're trying, we've had 3 very successful outdoor programs this year though. So that may be something we're gonna gear towards, but we don't need to hire as many performers, we don't need to spend as much money on programming as we have in the past. So we will hopefully, supplement that with our per capita, and then the other community programs is from that age options grant that we received.
And that age options grant in 510582, we did not spend that 10,000. I foresaw that we were going to have to spend that by the end of the year, but I was just informed that it will have to be spent by next year, October.
Okay.
So it's a rollover.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's a rollover, so that 10 grand has not, I put it in red, but that 10 grand is not, has not been expended.
Good.
Okay, and just our general operating, I did go through, for my first draft and made some reductions. There are some things, utilities, obviously we don't have a lot of control over that. Our telephone, this year we're going kind of back and forth with the E-rate. We didn't get the funding in when we expected it to, and it may not be as much as we expected it to. It's a government program, so that's always kind of a hit or miss with that. Our training dues and publications, there won't be as many conferences, again, because nobody's traveling, nothing's going to be, if they do have the library conference this year, it is in Chicago, so we won't need to expend as much on travel expenses for staff to go to conferences. Supplies per capita, we use the supplies money for in-house things, generalized office supplies and things. We kind of earmark the per capita money for bigger expenditures, things that we, would like to buy, but, if you need a bookcase or if you need a display unit or things, we try to use our per capita money for that. Postage and printing is the same, our book budget. Per state guidelines, you're supposed to have at least 8 to 12% of your budget go towards materials. So I did reduce that slightly, but still trying to keep within the guidelines for the library system as far as what we put into our budget for our materials. So it would be the same with that. We did earmark some per capita for books as well. Our audiovisual went down slightly. Our periodicals, we're going to reevaluate that, so that may go down slightly as well. The other general expenses we use when we have the auxiliaries on duty, which we haven't needed lately, but if we do go back to more normal operating, we will have the auxiliaries back in the library. And then the repairs and maintenance, we just earmarked because we have a very old building and you never know what's going to break down. So fortunately, next year we're looking at some minor plumbing repairs, which hopefully won't turn into major plumbing repairs, so we just like to keep the funding in the repairs and maintenance budget. Our computer systems and our computer support, we kinda kept similar, actually, we kept those the same. Those are, we're in the process of upgrading to Windows 10. We still have to update all our public computers to Windows 10, because Windows 7 is no longer being supported. So it's just a program that we have to follow through if we wanna continue providing computers to the public. Promotions, we also knocked down a little bit, because if we're not doing programs, we don't need as much promotion money. And reciprocal borrowing is one thing that we raised slightly, because this year we went slightly over. That's about people who go to other libraries and borrow materials from other libraries and may lose them, or our reciprocal agreement with Chicago Public, we never know exactly what that amount's going to be. And then we get refunded back from other libraries as well. And in the capital outlay, the money that I have budgeted for in that is a tentative thing, but it's a project that we've talked about doing for a long time, and that's something that we were going to dip into our fund balance to do. We'd like to do an RFID program with all of our materials. And basically, the thing with the RFID, you have to tag all your books, but then it becomes a method of self-checkout. It becomes a security system, and it becomes a method of inventorying your materials. Given, especially what's happened with this pandemic, everybody likes to move to more contactless systems. And we currently we have no methods of self-checkout right now. So to do something like that, it would involve tagging all of our materials, but then going forward, being able to offer self-checkout, scanning being able to check out books with your telephone. And then it would also be a theft deterrent, as we would have security gates at our exit, that would inform us if somebody was walking out with materials. In the end, it would also allow us to repurpose some of our circulation staff to more, positions that are more suited than just standing there checking out books. We can have more public services, we can have greeters, we can have a computer assistant who actually sits in there and offers assistance instead of being stuck behind a circulation desk. So it would make our staff more valuable in the long run. But that, I'm still doing the research on that, because I wanna make sure that I'm not buying something that's already obsolete. So I'm gonna try to get the most recent information on that, and that is something that we would take out of the fund balance, so.
Thing after this, what I want to interject is, if you look at the beginning fund balance right at the top, the report itself, I accidentally cut off the ending fund balance.
Oh, did you?
And the percentages.
Oh, we had those, I didn't bring them.
I have
Yeah.
that.
You do have that, yes.
I have that here on
Okay,
mine.
good. If in doing so, the point of these, the beginning fund balances I wanted to illustrate is that I believe up until 2023, the fund balance is above the 16% threshold. It's just from 2023 to 2000 and going forward, we run under the required threshold of the.
What year did you said?
2023 and 2024. It appears we're gonna run it underneath that 60% fund balance policy threshold, which, with that being said, all things being equal, that's where we're gonna wanna take a look at property taxes and, perhaps make a determination if there's a change warranted for that.
Be a referendum.
Correct.
Well, then,
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason, if I could have that back for a
Yep.
minute. The only reason that we've taken from the fund balance is because of last year, we had to reinforce our ceilings,
Sure.
et cetera, and our flooring. And so we had to take from the fund balance. The reason we have the fund balance is because every year we have been very thrifty and actually had a leftover, or had a refund, so that's how we had a fund balance, was because we always had some extra funds. This
Just
year.
to add to what you're talking about, in 2017 and 2018, the fund was in surplus for those 2 years
Correct.
also.
It was always in the surplus, and
Yeah.
so that's how we got the 1,000,007.
So what's 16%?
It's the following, the fund balance, and then
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but what's the number?
it's normally, the threshold, I would have to,
Our threshold right now,
yeah,
32.5.
30, right, but what's the, the level, I'd have to calculate that out.
I'm just wondering what 16% is, when we're gonna hit that, in which year?
Right.
So you're saying the 578,000, is that above or below the threshold? So
That
it's
is just under.
just under, okay.
Now, was that taking those 250 out for the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
'Cause, yeah, I don't know what we will be spending. And we do anticipate, obviously, having a surplus again this year. We've obviously scaled back a lot of purchasing and ordering, and we're hoping to, again, add to the fund balance this year.
If you look at our actual line items, we have a starting of just over 3 million. And in August, we ended up with 1 million, just over 1 million. So that's 3/4 of the year. And we have 1 million left. We're not gonna use all that. If
You're
you-
saying fund balance, is fund
No,
balance?
not
No,
the
no,
fund
our
balance.
operating budget.
I'm
Operating
talking about
budget.
our
Operating budget from
actual
2020.
operating, our,
I see, okay.
okay? 3/4 of the year, we didn't use all okay, you
So
said
that
3
surplus
million.
will go to next year.
Right,
Yeah, yeah, cause this is based on the budget, and you guys, and you're
Right.
right, there could be a further benefit.
so I
Right.
know that you're saying that the adopted budget, we're gonna be 410 in the hole, we're not,
Okay. Okay.
okay?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, look at the actual amount versus the, adopted budget.
So you won't be 444,000 negative, although it says that here. So how do we?
If we're the draft,
We're
Worst case
There you go.
scenario, if we
Yeah.
used everything.
Yeah.
Just like if you look at the adopted budget 2020 and versus what we have right now for the end of August. Okay, and we had 4 months left, we're not gonna use 1,030,000.
So it's
Cause your
possible.
programming is down anyways.
Our programming
Well,
is down,
and-
even our purchasing is down. We're basically
And we
paying
know-
salaries and benefits for the rest of the year.
And we know to tell our department heads when to stop,
Mhm.
you know, certain things, and they do.
So it's possible the next 4 years could be within that threshold then.
It's possible.
It's
Yeah.
possible,
Right.
it's very possible.
Because what we budgeted for capital outlay this year, we didn't expend all of that. You know, sometimes we like to overshoot so that we don't end up short.
Right,
Knowing that
of
that
course.
money will then go back into our fund balance if need be.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions?
No, I think
I have
this,
to say, Tammy, since you've been the director, I've seen so many positive changes over there, cause I'm a user of the library.
Well, thank you.
Get out there as much as I like to, but that fairy tale ball, you guys have really adapted to COVID and your programming, that was awesome. I think you had over 500 people
Yeah,
go
we did.
through.
Mhm.
We did, and we were very pleased with that. We weren't expecting, we didn't know how many people would come since they couldn't walk through and do all the things they used to do, but
But yeah, it's been really nice seeing the library just like get a fresh facelift overall with a lot of things going on.
right, it has taught us a lot, even again about this RFID project. This is something that we should have done in the past, because libraries were able to do self-checkout. We wouldn't have had to build all of those shields, we would have just let patrons check out to themselves, or check out on their phones, or, there's just a lot of things, even curbside pickup, we do plan on continuing that even after the COVID, because you're looking at a woman who has, a small baby in the car, you want her to unwrap the baby, bring her in the library just to pick up a book, when she could just call us and we can bring it out to her. So it's actually been an eye-opening experience. But thank you for the compliment.
No, it's true.
We've really tried to adapt to the situation.
and you've done a good job of reducing, with the times. You realize that, yes, the first quarter of the year, maybe half of the year, is could be the same as
Exactly.
this year.
Yeah.
Right.
So obviously, expenses or revenue's not gonna be there, so you've done a good job of looking at this holistically and making sure that you're adjusting it accordingly,
Thank
which
you.
is really good, thank you. We haven't seen that with everybody.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think we're good, right? We're good?
Okay.
You guys want, you have a
Great job.
wonderful evening, thank you for
Thank you.
everything.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Okay, good luck.
You can keep that, it's the library one.
Great. Good job, this was easy.
Do you need those printouts at the bottom?
Actually, I fixed them, I just gotta expand the print range.
Okay.
And I will go over like. changes
Okay, so
next
you
week.
have
We
that.
haven't put them yet.
Okay.
Great.
Do we have, I guess, I could probably just ask this to Ben. My board meets in November, and then they don't meet again until January. When do you need the board to approve a final budget?
By January?
By January, okay,
Yeah, mid-January.
okay. Their meeting is the third Monday in January,
Okay.
so I just don't wanna, you know.
It's just best,
The
because
general
this way we have a
nutrition.
better idea of where the health insurance comes in.
Right.
I think-
I just don't wanna rush them through November if it's not necessary. I think we did that a previous year, and then it just kinda, so that'd give them more time to read over things, and I've got new members coming on, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
have a good night, everyone.
Likewise.
Good one.
You dropped it.
I dropped the one. Oh,
That's a good one.
oh, thanks. Oh,
Okay.
thanks. Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, and with that, we'll move to the next scheduled departmental presentation, and that would be the finance department. So I'll turn that over to the budget director. Mr. Daish, go for it.
Thank you, Alderman Santoy. With finance department, our coverage departmentalized is two components. One is first is the finance department 12, which includes our accounts payable, our payroll. We have our general accounting, we have our, also our, not only that is our fiscal year end audit, and of course, the budget operations and many other things that we cover. And then the other part of the finance department is the collector's office, which handles all the cash payments and people coming up to the counter, as well as the handling of the vehicle sticker payments, as well as licenses and so forth. We'll first get into our finance department, and obviously we're not a revenue generator, it's primarily expenditures. And what needs to be mentioned is that staffing wise, we have been operating on reduced staffing over the years, considering the coverage of areas that we have to be on top of, especially now with the reporting requirements for the COVID-19 pandemic expenditures that we submit for reimbursement. There's a considerable amount of time that is spent making sure all the documentation is submitted properly to the federal and state governing authorities. With that being said, given the expanded projects that we're undergoing, we have hired a part-time consultant to assist us that was recommended by our auditors to assist, especially with the auditing, the budgeting, as well as the grant reporting compliance. And in addition, of course, as we cover any areas where staff has been subject to have to take time off due to the CARES Act, and of course being prepared to cover the duties of our staff members there. Further help is needed, so there is an increase over the budget requests for those items. Now, as we go further down, we do have union employees too that are subject to contractual, the amount of increases, as we explained previously, is subject to contractual negotiations. And of course, other than that, with salaries and benefits, we are looking at general operating. For now, we're going with just the historic averages. Then we go into the professional services, and again, just in preparation of any matters where we're gonna need temporary staffing services due to the reality of COVID. I've set a request for $5,000 where we normally do not incur much in those areas, but just prepare in that eventuality, or under that contingency. So that in essence is the finance department. Looking at the collector's office, again, the salaries are dictated for union contractual.
And that's 100% union in there.
Correct. So that, for now, we're gonna put a 2% increase, but that's still subject to change pending the contract negotiations. Other than that, we talked about the health insurance, 5% increase for now, and 10% for dental and life insurance, for the salaries and benefits. General operating expenditures, again, we're just going with historical averages for now. Then, professional services, the thing I need to point out is that the account number 5300-03, that's where the payment, we had in a payment processing firm to process the parking ticket payments. That is being taken in-house. And
And that's going to the police department, correct?
yes, the police department.
So we've already saw that in their expenses for the police department.
Correct. We foresee a savings somewhere around $100,000 because of taking it in-house when you factor salaries and related payroll benefits in that regard. And then finally, you have our professional services, a vehicle registration. We're gonna keep the 2020 adopted budget number of $90,000, and that consists of our vehicle stickers, the related software, and the mailers. So, anticipating that to be about the same amount for the next 4 years. That more or less takes us through the finance department as well as the collectors. And as you can see, even with those changes, we're still underneath the historic, when you combine the two departments together, we're still underneath the historic numbers from 2017 into adopted budget 2020.
Okay. So basically, you're still below the 2019, which would have been the
Yep.
highest one to date.
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, hearing no questions, moving over to new business. Hearing no new business, make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Just let Jim know we ended it, so. You can change that whenever you want Alderman
Well, that's
No,
It's like 2 months old.
it's like an ad-lib.
You can fill it in as
It's
soon
like
as-
ad-lib.
You're right.
We're gonna have to ad-lib it.
Mad Libs, yeah.
You can fill
Or
it in as
ad-lib,
soon as
I
we
mean,
go.
ad-lib, man.
I got it at the high.